Hello there folks, Marshall here. This video is going to be slightly different for my channel. Rather than the sort of higher level casts in detail that I try to get, this following video is from some casting that I did on the Steam store in an attempt to display and show the game off to people who haven't played the game before, so that they can understand it better rather than necessarily catering it to an audience of people who understand the game and know what's going on. If you're interested in these, let me know and I can upload some more. But either which way, let me know what you think. Hello there folks, Marshall here. I'm a community caster for Planetary Annihilation. This game we've got Clopse in red against Dreadnought in blue. In this particular system we have a gas giant that our players could play on, but the main map that they're going to be playing on today is Backbone. Covered in water, our commanders have spawned in. Let's have a look here at what Dreadnought's doing in blue. He's going straight for a naval factory. Using his commander, the most important unit in the game. If you lose your commander, you're out of the game. This is, as I say, the king piece. Kill that, game over. He's spawned next to these resource nodes here. These points with a green dot are metal sites. You've got two resources in the game. You've got metal and energy, and they're streaming resources. So you don't have a stockpile that you spend in order to buy units that you build, kind of like in the StarCraft or Age of Empires sorts of games. Now this one you have to balance your income versus your expenditure. If you spend too much, your building slows down and you give an advantage to your opponent. What he's done here is build a factory which builds stuff, and out of that he's built builders which build other stuff. And you can start to see where the exponential growth comes from. That's what this game is all about, trying to sustain that exponential growth while denying it to your opponent. Let's have a look at what Klops is doing on the other side of the map though. Using our pictures in pictures there, we can cover what's going on both sides. Klops down here in red though. He's gone for naval and an air factory. Meanwhile Dreadnought has gone for a naval and then a vehicle factory. And what you'll also notice that I've been doing so far is using our strategic zoom. So all the way on the main screen right now, I'm zoomed all the way in. I don't have icons. I can do some really minuscule, precise placements if I want to. And I can zoom all the way out. I can start seeing icons, and I can manipulate from this icon layer. I can see more of the battlefield. I can keep going, and I can keep going, and I can keep going, until I get so far out that I can then zoom between different planets. And while the stuff is going on this planet, everything is still happening on this other one there. You see there on the north that Dreadnought is expanding. These little resource nodes over here. Again, trying to increase what he is able to spend by grabbing these resource nodes. The more resources you can bring in, the more stuff you can build, the bigger armies you get, and the more you can destroy or annihilate your opponent. And of course you'll also notice that we're playing on planets. No more flat maps and hiding in corners waiting for your opponent to build enough to be able to smite you. No. Now you've got to worry about really confronting your opponent. You can't hide from your problems in this game. But don't worry, the game does what it can to make itself as accessible as possible to you. Like this strategic zoom. And area commands as well. These fabricators here are going around building these metal sites. What I could do is on this side of the map where there's a load of empty metal sites, is I could give them a build command. You see this circle I'm drawing. It's a bit hard to see because we're on a naval map at the moment. But this circle is an area marker. And because I would want to, let's say, build a metal extractor, every metal site now within that circle, once I give that command, will be queued up. And the same you can do sort of drag builds, as with these P-gens, or these power generators in lines. You can click drag to do that. Sometimes it's in circles, and all this sort of stuff. Game tries to make itself as accessible as possible. Now what sort of early action is happening in this game? Well, Klops has got a couple of energy producing aircraft here called Icarus, which he attempted to go in and do some damage there. But Dreadnought's just come back and killed them off to make sure that Klops can't do that. Klops also has these little piranha gunboats, if you will, which he was trying to kill off some expanding fabricators or builders. Didn't manage to do that. This Dreadnought is still sat over here with his builders, expanding in these different directions. What Klops is doing, though, is trying to expand in other ways. Trying to deal with Dreadnought, who's trying to deal with him. A few bombers there. Oh, blimey, Klops is not doing good right there. He just lost a load of air builders and a load of interceptors. That was a big loss for Klops. He also lost a load of bombers. Just two or three of Dreadnought's interceptors. That was a big win for Dreadnought right there. Unfortunately for Klops, this proxy base was still able to get up, but you know, he still lost all those fabricators that would have moved on. Klops, though, does like his air fabricators. He's got loads. Normally you wouldn't build quite so many air fabricators, but because they are so vulnerable, chances are a few of them will get picked off, leaving a few others to just insidiously build elsewhere. And that's what we're seeing right now with Klops. Got this air fabricator here that's got away scot-free so far. Dreadnought, though, being a good player that he is, just cottoned onto it. Dealt with that. But all of these metal extractors have been built, allowing Klops to build more factories in the short term, which is allowing him to get bigger and bigger armies, as you'll have noticed. From the beginning, we had just a single commander, and now we have a sprawling base within merely 5 minutes of the game. Or 6:19, but that also counts spawn time. What have we got here, though? We got Dreadnought coming round the headland with a few submarines, and battleships, and some anti-air cruisers. What damage are they going to be able to do? Well, Klops has a lot more battleships here, so by rights, he should be able to deal with this, but the submarines deal with the battleships better. The battleships, though, Dreadnought has gone side on, so he's actually firing more from these battleships than Klops is at the moment. And there you go, you see. Dreadnought just about gets the better of that trade. The problem is, we're now entering the home turf advantage, and Klops is just continually streaming units out. That's a bit of a problem for Dread here. He's pushing in a little bit too far, and he's lost more units unnecessarily, I'd say. But it's about trying to raid and take your opponent's income down a peg. And you can see there in the top left, green numbers there. Both our players are doing okay. If they go into red, that means they're spending too much, and they start to eat into the storage. And of course, as I said earlier, the more your storage is depleted, the slower you're going to be building if your storage completely depletes. Blue numbers, though, means exactly the opposite. You've got a big old surplus. Your storage is full, and you're not eating into it at all. What that means is you should be building more stuff because you can afford to. So blue numbers are good in that they signify that you can do more stuff, but they're bad in that they're also signifying that you're not doing that more stuff at the moment that it's showing it to you. So for example, your opponent could have a lot more than you do, and you're not spending what you could do to even out the game, and your opponent comes in and finishes you off because you haven't been building what you could. So it's a delicate balancing act here. So what Dreadnought should be doing right now with his blue numbers is building a lot more stuff. Let's have a look at his base. Is he doing that? Not really. He's just started building a T2 or an advanced naval factory, which should just about suck that stuff up. But most of his attention at the moment is trying to micromanage this attacking fleet here. These battleships that are damaging Klops' base here. And this is a best of 3, and so far, Dreadnought has won 1 and Klops has won 1. But Dreadnought here doesn't have any anti-air. In comes Klops' little Icarus planes. They only have a light little gun. It's not going to do a huge amount of damage, and they're very, very light, so basically died to a single shot from interceptors. But Klops just about managing to defend his land here. He's taking a lot of losses. 3 factories lost now. That's pretty major for a home base at this point of the game. He even had to move his commander out. Look at that. You can just about see him below the waves. He had to move his commander all the way out to deal with this threat. That's not good news for him at all. That's knocked him back a peg. If You can see up here in the factory counts, Klops has lost now 2 factories relative to Dread. He's lost 3 overall, of course. Dreadnought has more builders, the fabbers. Dreadnought just about has more army at them. But Klops also has a lot of air force at the moment, and Klops even. I didn't see this. Klops with an opposing fleet also dealing damage to Dreadnought. And look at this, this is Dreadnought's prime expansion here. 4 metal sites, 28 metal per tick, per second, if you will. This is not good for Dread, and where's his defensive army? It's out of position, he can't hold this. And Klops here has a view of this power generation line, which is a big prime target for him. Is he going to push in and exploit this? Don't think he can. Dreadnought now repositioning his units. Klops pulling off. He doesn't want to overcommit, overextend, which is probably a really wise thing to do. He's ahead in economy. He's caught back up in factory counts and in fabricator counts. Now he needs to conserve his army, not overextend, and send it somewhere else where it's really going to be efficacious. And Klops' air force getting a nice bit of scouting, his vision there. Let's have a look at what Klops can actually see. Going from his point of view in the top left there. Does he have radar coverage? He doesn't, otherwise we'd see blips going around. What can he see of Dreadnought's base? He hasn't actually scouted the main part of the base. There's some more stuff there that he hasn't seen, which is a recent build. Let's go back to all view there and see what Klops hasn't seen. Dreadnought now, though, with his T2 advanced naval factory, can produce more bigger, bulkier, more nuanced units, is starting to produce stuff. Here we have a Kraken straight out of it. Hailfire missile submarine that also fires torpedoes. Should do pretty well against this lot. Providing it's not focused down by these orcas here. The danger is that it is focused down by them. Fortunately, they're a little busy dealing with a factory right now, and there you see it. A lot of damage to that ship that just melted the hull. Neither of these players electing to go to the gas giant at this point. It's just too expensive for them at the moment, especially given how neck and neck this game has been so far. Klops starting to pull ahead, though, having said that. Look at the economy game there. Klops floating or wasting his metal. He's not spending enough, but he hasn't built enough energy to really make use of it. So that's where his bottleneck is at the moment, and you can see that with the efficiency numbers. He's building stuff a lot slower than he normally would be. See how slow that P-gen is going up. What has Klops got here, though? He's got a large number of battle cruisers. 12 battle cruisers and 1 submarine. He hasn't got any anti-air in there, though. So that's possibly a weakness that Dreadnought can expose. If Dreadnought can hold on long enough, which I don't think he can. He's just got a big battle cruiser out, though, a Leviathan. This could be his saving grace. This thing has huge range. Look at this. If I hold control here, you can just about see this range marker. It's a bit hard in the water again, but it completely covers this lot, even though these guys don't get anywhere near it. So this guy can fire in 2 different directions. This is actually really good positioning by Dreadnought. He's firing his bow cannons at this fleet over here, and his stern cannons have completely warded off Klops' attack, and he's actually got 2 out. Here's a second one doing the same sort of thing. Broadside on. Good positioning there from Dreadnought. Now retreating a little bit as this fleet starts to get into range here. Good micromanaging there from Dreadnought. Still struggling a bit though, because Klops has just got too much in the way of army. Of course, there's a sort of unit countering system in the game where you can get soft and hard counters and things like that. Of course, these big ships don't have great torpedo defense. So what Klops can do in response to this, he can either say, okay, I'm just going to overwhelm you with numbers, or he can say, I'm going to build an entire submarine force, because you can't hit these guys while I can hit you. So that's what Klops is going for here. He's responded precisely to the threat that Dreadnought has posed, to the response that Dreadnought has concocted in order to defend himself for the time being. But I don't really see how Dreadnought can continue to come back in this game. He's struggling to get orbital out because his economy is, well, you can see all the red numbers up there. It's ridiculous. Klops has been really good at taking out Dreadnought's expansion, and Klops here maintaining a presence is preventing Dreadnought from getting back out there and reclaiming this bit of land, which is big, big wins for Klops here. And more metal here. The Klops is destroying now. Dreadnought, I think, building this orbital launcher to try to get to our gas giant. Try and get some resources from it, but I think it's going to be a little too late. The army count's there. 20 to 70. Factories, 7 to 10. Economy, 90 to 150. That's a big lead for this sort of 1v1 naval mapping. This is nasty. This is a Typhoon here, this aircraft carrier. It produces these drones called squalls that are sort of temporary lasting stuff that requires these resources to build, requires metal to build, but has something of a range. Deal with them though, you've got to have air superiority. Klops here does have air superiority, but he doesn't have to engage them if he doesn't want to. Here now is the problem. See these submarines? The Leviathan can't target them. He can hit them incidentally, but he can't target them. So the submarines can just creep in, and there's absolutely nothing that Dreadnought can do about this. He hasn't got any torpedo defenses whatsoever. He's got a couple of Leviathans, but it's not enough. Question is, where's Dreadnought's commander? It's under there somewhere. There you go. You can see it in the foreground there, sat underneath that Leviathan. Somehow Dreadnought managed to defend against that. Is he attacking Klops at the same time? Klops' commander has moved out of position. He's going for a bit more in the way of air factories there. He wants to try and deal with the squalls. That must have been what defended Dreadnought. Is those drones out of that aircraft carrier. As the submarines just evaporated. Here we go again though. Let's have a watch. Here they come. Pew 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 pew. Pew pew pew. Damage, damage, damage. But torpedoes hitting this aircraft carrier at the moment. Lost a bit of health there. A little bit more than you would think is ideal. Now Klops has to respond to that, and he's done so, as I say, with these aircraft factories here. With the air interceptors, he'll be able to deal with those drones. So Dreadnought here is prolonging the inevitable unless he is able to re-expand. He's attempting to do so, just has to make sure he pushes all the way through with it. Now he has an orbital launcher here, but is he actually going to use it to get over onto the gas giant? It's very expensive to do that, but is it worth it at the moment? Possibly. I would argue in the meta, no, it's not in the meta, no, what are you doing? So, you know, curveball strategies can win games. They can do. Sacrifice in the short term can work. So many submarines from Klops. The only way that Dreadnought is going to be able to deal with these guys now is by turtling in with some torpedo defences and more submarines of his own. Maybe a few bits of air-based anti-air or a few more Typhoons, but he doesn't have the economy to really be able to support more Typhoons. That's the problem. Got about 3 around and about. Here we go. Again, another submarine force taken out by this Typhoon. It's really doing work, this guy. It's down to 25% health, but good work. Good work. What's Klops up to? Has he started T2 yet? No, he hasn't. He's just going for basics as T1s. And what Dreadnought has now is a kaiju. An amphibious naval vessel from the Advanced Naval Factory. This guy can go over land, even though it's primarily a naval ship. Here though, with this force, is it ready to be the big push to win the game? It could be. 90 units for Klops versus 50. This little force here has how many? 9 and 27 and 1. Got 37 units there. Dreadnought has a lot of air capacity. 26, 27, 28. So that's over half of Dreadnought's army is in the air right there. And he's happy to butt heads with Klops. Here we go. Dreadnought has very little option other than to go on the offensive here. Here we go. Leviathan and Typhoon going around the headland. Here we go. Klops earlier responding to the threat of the drones coming out of this Typhoon here with more air units, but now he's lost his air superiority. But does it matter? Because he's got so many units in the base now. All of these submarines that are not targetable by battleships, dealing a lot of damage. If they can take out this T2 naval factory here, that's going to be a massive win for this fleet. Could spell disaster for Dreadnought. There it goes. Down it goes. Where's the commander? He's hightailing it towards the trench. Still clinging on to life. His commander there down below 40% of HP. Klops still trying to think about how best to get at Dreadnought. Did Dreadnought ever get into orbit? I don't think he did. He did! Look at this! Look at this! He's trying to start mining resources from the gas giant. And Klops is trying to respond to it. I wondered why Klops was building an orbital launcher. He doesn't often do that. I think he stopped building it as well. Case in point. As I said, he doesn't often do it. Yep. Oh. Point stands. Ah, there it is. I thought I saw it. I wasn't going mad. I wasn't going mad. Going to try and chase Dreadnought into orbit. Try and defend against Dreadnought's T2 advantage by going T2 naval there as well. Klops just needs to deal with Dread's expansions around the place, and then he'll be fine. That's all he has to do. Is deal with that stuff. Dreadnought still coming in though, using a variety of units to do it now. Look at this, over the headland. These drifters could provide vision for this Typhoon. Let's have a look at his range. Not quite get close enough here, but if he gets into this little pocket, maybe. Maybe. Still needs to cling on to this. Dreadnought all of a sudden has got a greater economy here, and that's possibly because of the gas giant here. Let's have a look. He's got a second jig being built now. The jig is up, as it were. Klops' economy is starting to wane because he hasn't chased Dreadnought for this gas giant. This is siphoning for Dreadnought 36 metal and 9,000 power per tick. That's an incredible amount. And Klops here, confusingly enough, is moving his commander towards Dreadnought's awaiting naval units. Is he throwing in the towel? Is Klops seriously throwing in the towel here? He can't possibly have made this as a mistake. There's no way. He's trying to chase Dreadnought away though, and Dreadnought is fleeing for the hills as the Leviathan keeps firing over the stern. Look at those shots. Bang. Commander now needs to get into the water. I don't think he's going to make it. Down he goes. Dreadnought pulls a win from a quick getaway to the gas giant in the distance. Well played by you. Folks, don't go anywhere. This is a tournament. We've got more games to follow. I'm just going to go and rest my voice. I'm going to leave you with a little bit of a splash screen, which explains a few of the details about the game. I've been Marshall. Don't go anywhere. So, folks, that was my first one of these. I've got a few more from the one time that I did this. If you're interested and want the rest of them uploading, let me know. Leave a comment or a like or some communication of telling me that you approve or disapprove even, and let me know. And stick around for more content on the way very, very soon indeed. Subscribing helps me out very much. Until next time, folks, I've been Marshall, and have a good one.